Hello friends, and thanks for joining me for another reading recap video. It's officially halfway through the year. How did that happen so fast? If you've stuck with me up until now, thank you so much. And if you're new to my channel, thanks for stopping by. I hope you'll continue to check in as the year continues. Let's start things off by flipping to the front of my journal and starting with the books to read spread. Although I did not meet any reading goals this month, I did read a book from my TBR list, The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. Let's check it off, then flip the page and go to the recommended read spread. This month I read two of the books on my list of recommendations, Forrest Gump and The Bear and the Nightingale. Unfortunately, these two fell really flat for me, which was really surprising. I fully expected to enjoy both of these books and was quite disappointed that I didn't. I gave Forrest Gump a 3 out of 5 rating, while The Bear and the Nightingale got 2.5 out of 5 stars. Ouch. Thank you for the suggestions, Craig and Jessica, and I'm so sorry that these books just weren't for me. On the next page, let's fill in the empty books on the shelf with the titles of the ones that I finished this month and color them in. This month's reads include the following: The Wandering Fire, Check and Mate, The Bear and the Nightingale, The Witch in the Well, The Darkest Road, The Spell Shop, Forrest Gump, and A Wonderlandful World. June was the biggest month I've had so far this year, with a total of 8 books read. Because I started a new job this month, I was able to get through several audiobooks, as I tend to listen to them while I work. It was also a big month because I finished the Fionnivar Tapestry series, and read 2 books from my recommended reads page. There was a really great mix of genres in this month's books as well. How fitting is it that the visual bookshelf has 3 full shelves at the halfway point of the year? I can hardly believe it. Next, let's flip the page to the series tracker spread. I'm going to gray in the last 2 dots for the Fionnivar Tapestry series, and also add a dot in the Ever After High series as well. Only 1 more to go to complete that set. Now let's flip over to the 2025 book log and fill it in with the books I mentioned earlier. The first book I finished this month was The Wandering Fire by Guy Gavriel Kay. This is the second book in the Fionnivar Tapestry series, and it delves much deeper in the world we learned about in the first book. Bonds are tested, new characters and legends are revealed, and through it all, our 5 main protagonists deal with love, loss, hope, and grief while standing against a growing evil. This was a great addition to the series. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Check and Mate, a fluffy little YA romance by Ali Hazelwood, centered around, you guessed it, chess. I was super looking forward to reading this book, as I'd read another of her novels earlier this year, Bride, and I loved it. Although I enjoyed the premise and the concept behind this book, I didn't absolutely love the main character, Mallory, or her family. Something about their dynamic just kind of put me off and really annoyed me at times. Because of this, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Up next was The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. This, unfortunately, was a major flop for me. This book was touted as a Russian fairy tale turned fantasy story that should have ticked all of my boxes. Friends, I am so sorry, but I found this book incredibly boring, drawn out, and frustrating. characters and plots early on just disappeared and are never spoken about again. I absolutely hated several of the characters, and the in-your-face religious aspects really put me off. I finished it, but I'm not certain if I'm going to continue with the series, which is why I didn't add it to my series tracker earlier. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. The next book I finished was The Witch in the Well by Camilla Bruce. After reading You Let Me In last month, I wanted to immediately try another of her books. The Witch in the Well was a wonderful combination of mystery, thriller, and horror that always kept me guessing. Was there really a witch in the well? You'll have to read it and see for yourself. I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. The fifth book I finished in June was The Darkest Road by Guy Gavriel Kay. This is the third and final book in the Fiona Var Tapestry series, and it was incredible. In this novel, we came to the stunning conclusion in the battle between light and dark. It was gritty, emotional, and full of action. Much like the first book, this one made me shed a few tears, and it gave me goosebumps in some really tense scenes. This series, alongside the War of the Souls trilogy I finished earlier in the year, are now firmly some of my favorite new fantasy reads. 5 out of 5 stars. Up next was the cozy fantasy novel The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This book was everything that I was looking for. A cute, cozy story with magic, lovable characters, a sweet romance, and just a touch of danger. This book made me feel all the warm, fuzzy feelings, and I truly felt as if I was reading a Ghibli movie. It made me smile, it made me laugh, and it made me cry. I can't recommend this book enough. 5 out of 5 stars, plus more if I could give them. Next, I read another of my recommended reads, Forrest Gump by Winston Groom. This was another book I was really looking forward to reading that ultimately fell flat. For me, this is an extremely rare case in which I feel that the movie is far, far better than the book. I really wanted to like this book, but some of the language and slang terms used, along with the fact that many of the things that Forrest did just weren't believable in any sort of fashion, put me off. I rated this 3 out of 5. Lastly, I read the third book in the Ever After High series, A Wonderlandful World by Shannon Hale. This book deviated from the previous two, focusing on several side characters, mainly Lizzie Hartz, daughter of the Queen of Hearts, and Cedar Wood, daughter of Pinocchio. It was a really cute story about finding yourself, as well as new friendships along the way. If you like Alice in Wonderland, this book might be right up your alley. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Let's turn the page and add in all of the books I just logged into the visual tracker. I'm thinking of adding in an extra page to this spread since I'm worried I'm going to run out of space given how many books I read in just half of the year. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll add that in next month's video. Up next is the Book of the Month pick for June. This month I had to pick between The Darkest Road and The Spell Shop, and it was absolutely a no-brainer for me. The Spell Shop was my best book of the month. In fact, it was so good and impacted me in such a huge way that I'm going to do something very bold and add it to my best of the year spread on the next page. The rest of this list will be compiled later, but I really feel that The Spell Shop belongs on this list, so on it goes. Next, let's update the yearly stats spread and add in all of this month's numbers and information. In books read per month, I'll fill it in with 8 books read. That's my current record for the year. For reading types, I read 2 physical books, 1 ebook, and 5 audiobooks. In books by the page, I read 1 book in the 1 to 200 plus pages column, 6 in the 300s, and finally 1 in the 400s. For genres read this month, I'll add 4 in fantasy, 1 in YA, 1 in mystery thriller, 1 in romance, and lastly, 1 in fiction. And finally, for when was it written, I'm going to add 3 in the 1985s column, 1 in the 2010s, 1 in 2015, and lastly, 3 in the 2020s. Moving on, let's flip over to our monthly overview for June and add in all the details and info for the month. I'll add in 8 books in total books read and a whopping 2,868 pages in total pages read. That's my newest record. Next up is the best and worst reads of the month. As previously mentioned, the best book this month went to The Spell Shop, while the worst for this month is reserved for The Bear and the Nightingale. Next, I'll add in all the books I read in the monthly book log, with the date that I finished the book, its page count, and its rating. I have just enough room on this page to fit all 8 books in. Whew! Lastly, I'll dot in my mini calendar up in the top right corner with the date I finished each book and the color that corresponds to its genre. It's crazy to think that we're already halfway through the year. It's been an incredibly fun journey so far, and I'm so glad I get to do this and share it with you all. I hope you continue to stick around and see what the second half of the year brings. June, like May, was a very busy month for me, especially since I started a new job. So that meant that I didn't watch any new TV series or movies. My friend and I even had to put our besties binge watch viewing on temporary hold. Hopefully we can get back to watching some great shows again soon. To finish things off, I'm going to flip to the Music to My Ears mini spread and add in a new song that I've become only slightly obsessed with, The Contract by 21 Pilots. This is another band that I really adore, and their newly released single, The Contract, is a super catchy song that reminds me a lot of the sound and feel of the album that made me fall in love with their music, Blurryface. Their newest album, Breach, comes out in September of this year, and I can't wait to listen to it. And with that, we finished our reading journal recap for June, and we've officially made it halfway through the year. Awesome! As always, thank you for taking the time to join me today on my reading journey and watching my videos. If you want to continue to see more content from me, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to my channel. Happy reading, and see you all again in the next video. Bye!